We're back for more college basketball daily best bets in the channel. Today is Wednesday, January 22nd, and of course we've got 5 best bets for you today. Yesterday 2 and 3 day. I'm not gonna hide from it again. Not a great day at all. Missouri could have got that game at Texas. They just fell apart at the end of the second half, and a 3 and 2 day potentially turns into a 2 and 3 day. We hit our early 2 games with Tennessee covering at home against Mississippi State. We hit early again in the day with Texas Tech going to Cincinnati against the Bearcats, but unfortunately, we just weren't able to close the night. So it is what it is. We're going to bounce back today. We've got a lot of big-time basketball. I'm staying away mostly from smaller school games today. We're going to have one, but a lot of SEC play today. We're going to have an ACC game, and obviously we got to take a look at the Big Ten like we always do. So that's what we've got in store here today. And folks, if you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. It helps out the channel a ton. If you just hit that subscribe button down below and leave a like, that's all I ask for y'all to do as you watch these videos. Let's get into it. And also, folks, make sure to go check out our NBA predictions posted in a couple hours here in the channel. I believe we have 11, 10, 9 games in the NBA today. There's a lot. I think it's 11, I think. So make sure to join us later today for that in a couple hours. And also make sure to go check out our PFL Dubai, Nurmagomedov versus Hughes, Dagestan versus Ireland 2 predictions. Make sure to check that one out. It's this Saturday for the Professional Fighters League. Link in the description down below. Let's now get on to the first of our 5 best bets today for college basketball. And we will start in Worcester, Massachusetts. Worcester, I believe. We've got the Holy Cross Crusaders taking on the Army Black Knights. And give me Army on the road. Yes, we're going to start by taking a road team here. Why? Army's won 4 in a row. Army quietly is 4-2 now in the American Conference after dropping back-to-back games to start Patriot League play, but that's to Colgate, who's 6-1. They lose on the road to Colgate, who's probably the best team right now in the Patriot League. They have a 9-11 record, but they're the best team in the conference right now. And then their other loss is at Boston University, BU, a team that can potentially, be kind of tough to beat. But a 4-game straight winning streak for the Army Black Knights, winning against Loyola Maryland, beating Lee on the road. I get they're not great, but beating Lee on the road, beating Lafayette, and beating Boston University, getting their get back at home at West Point. They're led by Jalen Rucker, who averages 19 points per game. Josh Scovins averaging 16, Ryan Curry averaging 12, and simply put, that's where they're going to beat Holy Cross. I don't think Holy Cross is able to keep up scoring-wise. Now, the last time we picked a Holy Cross game, we did predict it correctly. We had Holy Cross versus another Service Academy school, and the Crusaders did go out there and beat Navy. They beat the Midshipmen 70-59, but what has Holy Cross done since? They've dropped 3 in a row. They lose on the road at Lafayette. They lose to Bucknell on the road, and then they host American University, and American University beats them by 9 points. Holy Cross is, I wouldn't say carried, but kind of carried by Max Green. He does a lot for this basketball team. He is their guard who averages 14 and 4. He leads this team in both points, minutes, and assists. You get Joe Nugent, who also averages 13. Caleb Kenny averages 12. But again, everything on this team, one way or the other, at least scoring-wise or passing-wise, obviously eventually to score, goes through Max Green. Max Green is the guy here for the Crusaders. But again, Holy Cross, a 10-9 team so far this season. 4 straight losses, 2-4 in the Patriot League this year. They've lost twice to American University, again Lafayette, Bucknell. Their wins: Loyola Maryland at home by 2 points, and Navy, obviously the last game we picked with Holy Cross. Obviously, we got that one right. Again, I'm not going to put too much in the non-conference schedule for either of these teams. I think we've gotten a large enough sample size, really, for all the games we pick now at this point. I feel like I've gotten a large enough sample size for conference play where we don't really have to look at non-conference schedules. Obviously, if either of these teams or any of these teams we talk about today have a big non-conference win or a horrible non-conference loss, we'll talk about it. But I think the primary focus now is going to be obviously conference play, because now, again, we have a much larger sample size, 5, 6, potentially 7 games into conference play. But I think Army gets Holy Cross in this basketball game. Why? Again, I think Army's able to outscore the Crusaders. I think Army has the best scorer on the court. That's Jalen Rucker. As a whole, I think Army's got the better starting lineup. And I think Army has the better big man in this game as well. I mean, you're going to see Holy Cross's main big It's a forward, Jaden Faroa. He is a junior out of Draper, Utah. He's 6'8", averages 6 boards a game. But AJ Allen's patch is one of the better bigs in the Patriot League this season. This is a guy who averages 9 rebounds a game. Again, he's 6'8". He's a senior. But yes, Allen's patch, he can score, averages 10 points a game, and he can effectively get boards all night long. This is a guy, obviously, who's been with Army for the last 4 seasons. Went from averaging one point to half a point, 2.5 points, to now 10 this season, along with the 9 rebounds per game this guy grabs as well. I would expect him to win the matchup against Jaden Faroa tonight, and I think, again, Army wins everywhere on the court. I do think they have the better scoring team. I do think they play better defense, and I think they got the better big as well. I think the only thing that favors the Crusaders in this game is that they're at home in Massachusetts, but I don't think that's enough to push the Crusaders over the top. This is our early game today at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, but I do like the Army Black Knights to go on the road. I get it's kind of hard to go on the road in the Patriot League and win, but we're going to take Army to do exactly that right now. -110 for the Black Knights, -1.5 is probably the spread, obviously, I'd assume, but just take the money line at that point. We're going to go -110 for the Army Black Knights on the road at Holy Cross. This is the smallest school game we're going to pick today, but of course we got to get some of the Patriot League going today. We're going to take the Army Black Knights on the road at Holy Cross to win. I think they've just got the all-around better team. Again, I don't think the game being at the Hart Center in Worcester, Massachusetts plays the biggest difference. Give me the Black Knights on the road at Holy Cross. On to our next game, we go to the Big Ten. Obviously, we promised Big Ten basketball, and that's exactly what we are going to get. We've got the Indiana Hoosiers on the road against the Northwestern Wildcats in Evanston, Illinois. We like the Hoosiers on the spread. We like the Hoosiers on the money line, but the main play here is Indiana plus 5.5. That's what we like the most here. You can take the money line. I'm not saying that is the best bet for this game. Obviously, the best bet is IU plus 5.5, but I don't mind the money line at all as well. Indiana is now working their way back into the bubble and potentially, I think right now, potentially last 4 into the NCAA tournament, which is huge for Indiana considering how disappointing they were last year. They have back-to-back losses this year in bad fashion at Iowa and against Illinois and Bloomington, but we said it in Indiana's last game. They were 8.5-point dogs in Columbus against Ohio State, who somehow just pulled off a huge victory on the road at West Lafayette against Purdue. Checks out, right? Same team that lost to Indiana and Minnesota, by the way. And Minnesota goes to Iowa and wins yesterday as well. The Big Ten is weird, but I think this one makes sense. IU was playing for Mike Woodson in their last game. They were. Woodson needed to win that game for Indiana, and that's what happened. Now they're going to try to build off of that. Back-to-back road spots, and now we get them in Evanston against Northwestern. I'm not saying outright that they're going to win, okay? That's not the official pick, but I do think Indiana is able to keep it close against a Northwestern team that has not covered this line in Big Ten play all year long. They are yet to cover this line at any point in the year. They've played 7 games in the Big Ten. They have not covered -5.5 once. Their last game on the road at Michigan, they lose by 4. Not a bad loss, obviously, but that doesn't cover. Their win against Maryland at home, they win by 2 points. Michigan State lost at home by 10. Purdue lost on the road by 18. They go to Penn State, they lose by 4. They beat Illinois, best victory of the year by far this year for Northwestern, but they win the game by 4 points. They go to Iowa, they lose by 1 point. This team is yet to cover the spread in 7 games. I don't think they do it here against Indiana. And yes, Northwestern has been much better at home all year long, and this is not the first time, not close to it, where we have picked against the Wildcats at home. We've done it before. We did it, unfortunately, in the Illinois game. Unfortunately, in the Maryland game, we picked against the Wildcats, and unfortunately, they got us in overtime in both those games. But now we're going to take IU to go into town and just cover 5.5. Again, the end result, don't really care. I think Indiana can win. I'm not going to make that the official bet. I hope the Hoosiers get it done, but I'm not going to say, again, that's the main bet for this play. I think Indiana, though, can cover 5.5 points. I don't think Northwestern's 5.5 points better than Indiana. They're just not. Guys, Northwestern's 2-5 so far in the Big Ten this year. Indiana's 5-3, and I know that doesn't mean everything, and IU has struggled on the road this season, but they've gone to Penn State and won. They've gone to Ohio State now. They went to Columbus and won. Who's to say they're not going to go to Northwestern and win? And again, we don't even need them to win this basketball game. We just need them to cover 5.5 points. This team, again, is playing for their coach. They're playing for Mike Woodson. And yes, Malik Reneau still out with injury, but that's fine. Ballo's been dominant for IU. He's averaging a double-double. Mackenzie Mbako's been a bum. I I can't really say anything other than that. And I like Mbako, but he's been bad recently. It's been, again, a lot of Ballo. It's been Miles Rice. It's been Luke Goody, who's been really good as well. Luke Good's been really good as well. I believe he dropped about 20 in that last game against the Buckeyes. Again, and Indiana's doing this without Malik Renault in the lineup and without Mackenzie Mbako really doing anything. And also, the fifth-year senior Trey Galloway really hasn't done much either. It's been a lot of Rice. It's been Omar Ballo. These guys have stepped up for the Hoosiers. So we just need them to step up here on the road against Northwestern. And you know what you're going to get out the Wildcats. You're going to get the shooting out of Nick Martinelli. You're going to get Brooks Barnser. You're going to get Jalen Leach. You're going to get their big Matthew Nicholson, who plays most of the game and, grabs a bunch of boards, but Barsner as well. I mean, this guy's averaging 18 and 9 this season. Right, I mean, Barnser's a really good basketball player all around. Can shoot, he can score. Shooting's rough sometimes, but he can score effectively. He can play defense, obviously, as well. Averages 2 steals a game. Hell, the guy leads the team in rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Right, it's crazy. Barnser's an all-around really good basketball player. We've seen Northwestern struggle this year, though. We have. We've seen Northwestern struggle. They have not covered this line all year long, and it is because they play a bunch of overtime basketball games. That's fair. But we just need IU to keep this game close. Again, the final score, as long as it's within 5, we don't care. We don't. I think Ballo has a big night. I think, again, that Nicholson-Ballo matchup is going to determine whether or not we're going to cover this line, and I expect Ballo to get the better of this. I really do, and we'll see. Does Mackenzie Mbako finally step up to the plate? Because, honestly, he hasn't done that recently. I hope Mbako has a good night, but again, the jury's still out in that one. We'll see. I think Indiana's able to go on the road here and cover. I get it. Northwestern's good. Martinelli can score. Barnser is great. I get that. But Northwestern is still a 2-5 team in the Big Ten this season. They're yet to cover this line all year long. We just need IU to cover, and I think they'll do it. And again, if you want a bonus play, I do think Indiana wins the basketball game. But again, the official bet here is plus 5.5 for the Hoosiers on the road in Evanston against Northwestern. Let's move on to our third best bet of the video, and we move to the Atlantic Coast Conference. And nothing says Atlantic Coast Conference more than a game in Berkeley, California between the Cal Golden Bears and the Florida State Seminoles. The first between these two teams, obviously in ACC play for basketball. These two teams did meet in football earlier this year, and Cal became the first team to lose to Florida State this year in the ACC. Hey, Fernando Mendoza, though, gonna lead IU to the playoffs next season. Just you wait. They're going to Penn State and winning. I'm going to say that every single time Fernando Mendoza and Indiana gets brought up until football season. Anyways, Cal's been surprisingly good. Cal and Stanford, for that matter. I thought Cal and Stanford were going to get obliterated in a lot of these games in the ACC this season. Like, hell, I didn't think Cal was going to go to NC State and win. Virginia game at home, I thought Virginia had a good chance to win that one, but shout out to Cal. They're 2-5, which, again, is better than I thought they'd be. I thought, honestly, they'd be like 1-6 right now. Maybe 0-7. Guys, I saw this team lose to Stanford earlier in the year. I saw them, barely get by Air Force, barely get by Sacramento State. I'm not sold on California, and honestly, I'm still not, and I'll get to the full breakdown of the Golden Bears in a minute. I do think Florida State's the better basketball team. They're a 4-3 team in the ACC this year. 3 losses are to NC State on the road, and I get it. Cal just beat NC State on the road as well, but it was a while ago. It was the first ACC game this year for Florida State. Since then, again, they lose to Louisville. They beat Syracuse, and by the way, Louisville, man, SMU just got killed last night. Bad read on my end. Really bad read. That one and the Toledo one. My fault. SMU's fraudulent. What can we say? Just kick them out the bubble. They're not even close to it at this point. But we know how good Louisville is now, right? Louisville's legit. They can go on the road to Dallas and win. I give them a lot of credit. I do. Florida State beat Syracuse. They go to Miami and win. That's literally the easiest thing ever, right? I mean, look at Stanford tonight. It's probably going to blow out Miami. Didn't feel good enough to make that one of the best bets, but I do expect Stanford just to roll over the Hurricanes. Florida State goes to Clemson. They lose. They beat Pitt. They beat Georgia Tech. Again, back-to-back victories. They've only gone on the road this year in ACC play and beaten the Hurricanes, which isn't great. That's actually their only road victory all year long. But guys, it's Cal. It's Cal. Andrea Stojakovic, obviously, again, you know him because of the last name. Stojakovic is good, but recently he hasn't been great. He was good in the Clemson game, 30 points, 23 against UVA, 24 against VTech. Back-to-back games, though. UNC game plays 32 minutes, scores 6 points. The NC State game plays 35 minutes, scores 10 points. So again, if Stojakovic isn't on, then you got to rely on guys like Jeremiah Wilkinson. You got to rely on guys like Javon Blackshear Jr., like Joshua Ola Joseph. Like, again, these guys will play, but I don't think it's good enough to keep up with the Seminoles. And we haven't talked about the Seminoles all year long. They're a sneaky, decent team led by Jameer Watkins, who's averaging 19 points a game. Malik Ewan averaging 14.5. Taylor Bowen averaging 9. Daquan Davis averaging 9 as well. I mean, again, it's a good Florida State team. It is. And the only thing that, concerns me a little bit picking this basketball game is the Seminoles going on the road. Again, it's a cross-country trip from the Panhandle, I believe. Yeah, Tallahassee's in the Panhandle. From the Panhandle all the way over cross-country to California. I get it. That is difficult. But I just don't think Cal's that great. Yeah, they beat UVA. They're supposed to beat UVA. They went to NC State and won. NC State again, yes, they have beat Florida State this year, but that was a while ago at this point. I'm willing to overlook that. And again, the thing is, if Stojakovic continues this slump, I don't think the way California has been playing is all that sustainable. I don't think they can continuously win and consistently win without Stojakovic being a threat. So again, we'll see what Andreas Stojakovic we get today. But if he's scoring under 20, if he's scoring under 15, I do think the Seminoles have this one in the bag. I like Jameer Watkins. I like this squad. I think Florida State's able to go in there and win the basketball game. They're 4-3 in the ACC this season. I think they do pick up their second road victory all year long. They did lose in Baton Rouge earlier in the year. They went to Raleigh and lost in overtime, and obviously they went to, Clemson and got killed. That is kind of expected. So I think FSU should be fine in this basketball game. Give me the Seminoles to go on the road to California and take care of the Golden Bears. The line is 1.5 for Florida State. They are the slight favorites. I will take it. Give me FSU minus 1.5 / the money line, whatever you want to take. It probably about the same odds. Let's just be honest. Actually, no. Won't be exactly the same odds, but just take the money line. Go money line here for Florida State. On the road at California, we think FSU gets it done. We have SEC for the rest of the way, and we're going to start things off with the Texas A&M Aggies versus the number 16th ranked Ole Miss Rebels. Gotta be the game of the day, right? The only game today with two ranked basketball teams, and of course we've got to pick for it. A&M ranked 13th going into this game, a team that is now 3-2 in the Southeastern Conference, taking on the number 16th ranked Ole Miss Rebels, who has picked up their first loss in SEC play, 4-1 as a whole, but obviously just lost on the road at Mississippi State in their last game. In a game where Ole Miss had to come back, they had to fight, they had to battle, and they just lost the game in overtime. But it was a good fight for Ole Miss. Yes, Mississippi State tried everything to keep Ole Miss in that basketball game, but you gotta love the fight for the Ole Miss Rebels. They were down for extended periods of time in this basketball game, and it felt like there was always a big three to be hit by one of these shooters for Ole Miss. We're talking Sean Padula. We're talking Jalen Murray. Hell, Malik Dia hit a big shot in that game as well. Jamin Brakefield was great in that basketball game as well. Brakefield scored 20 in that one for Ole Miss. I think the Rebels are deep. I think, again, it was just a rough spot on the road at Mississippi State. It is what it is, rivalry game. It's going to happen. Games like that, you're going to come out on the wrong side of that equation sometimes. But now Ole Miss is at home. So they are 3.5-point favorites in this basketball game, and I'm willing to take that. A&M, again, this is a team that's been all right in SEC play. They're 3-2, and yes, non-conference, they're really good. They blew out Purdue, and Purdue came down to Texas. They beat Ohio State, who I can't believe was ranked at one point in this year. They beat Creighton, who was ranked when they beat them as well. Again, A&M's beat some good teams. The confusing one is the game that they started the season with. They went to Orlando and lost to Central Florida. That was a little bit confusing, better word. But A&M's been, just all right recently, right? They started up SEC play. They beat Texas. They beat Oklahoma on the road. They dropped back-to-back to Bama and then at Kentucky, and they beat LSU at home. Well, LSU's not very good. They're in the bottom tier of the SEC along with Oklahoma, Arkansas, and South Carolina. And yes, we will have some Razorbacks basketball, and there's a lot to say about the Razorbacks, obviously, with the situation surrounding Boogie Fland. I think it's just a tough spot to go play for A&M, though. You're going on the road to Ole Miss. This is a ranked basketball team. This is a good basketball team. There's so many guys on this team that can't score. Padula, Murray, Brakefield, Malik Dia has really turned it on as of late. Dre Davis. I mean, there are guys. This is a deep Ole Miss team. Anybody can go off. Again, they just lost their first game in SEC play last Saturday against the Bulldogs. They're 4-0 up until that point, right? This is a team that goes to Bama, wins. They go to Fayetteville and win. They beat Georgia at home. They beat LSU at home. This is not a bad basketball team in Ole Miss. And sure, if you want to play common opponent, they played Purdue and lost, and A&M beat Purdue. Again, non-conference a while ago, and it's just different in conference play. It just is. SEC, it just means more, and it's just different in conference play when you're going to these schools. A&M, again, is going to Mississippi to play this game. They're going to Oxford. It's just different. It's the biggest game on TV today for just college basketball in general. It's on ESPN2, which does mean the NBA's on ESPN. Yes, the NBA is on ESPN. At this time, it will be the Golden State Warriors and the Sacramento Kings with the NBA. And if you want to see our prediction for that game, make sure to join us in 2 hours on the channel. We'll have that video up at 10. I'll have that video up at 10 a.m. and obviously 1 on the East Coast. But I like Ole Miss in this spot. I do. Again, I don't think A&M's a bad team. I don't think they are. Right, led by Zurich Phillips. Wade Taylor obviously is the notable player on this Aggies team. Taylor just came back in the LSU game, dropped 12 points. Again, this is a consistent scorer for the Aggies. I'm not going to deny that, but we'll see how Wade Taylor plays in his second game back. But again, it's Phelps, and it is Taylor who are the primary scorers in this team. I just think the Rebels are able to outscore them. Guys, pretty much everybody on Ole Miss is a threat to effectively score the basketball. I'm not saying that's not the same case for A&M, but I just think Ole Miss is more effective. I really think they are. I think they are the better basketball team. I think they can score more efficiently than A&M, and they are at home for this spot. They are 3.5-point favorites, which I think they should cover with ease in this basketball game. Not saying it's going to be a straight blowout, but I do think the Rebels win this one by, 8-ish points, maybe more. Maybe they do get into double digits. But I do think the Rebels get this one fairly easily. Coming off that loss to Mississippi State, they returned home to Oxford. I expect the Rebels to get things done. It's a big matchup, 2 ranked basketball teams, but we do like the Rebels at home to take care of business, cover the 3.5 points, and beat the Texas A&M Aggies. Let's close out the video here with more SEC ball as we go to Fayetteville, Arkansas. As we have the Arkansas Razorbacks taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. I am very surprised Arkansas is favored to win this basketball game. I am more than surprised Arkansas are the favorites in this game. I really am. I get it. Georgia has not been the most impressive this year in the SEC. They just played Auburn really tight in Athens. They beat Oklahoma this year. Whatever. They beat Kentucky when they ranked 6th in the country. And sure, Georgia's only wins have come in Athens this year in SEC play. Right, I think they've only won 1 game on the road all year long, and that was their game at Georgia Tech in Atlanta. So, I get it. Thing is, Arkansas still hasn't won a game in the SEC this year. And this is one of the rare times we're actually going to look at their non-conference schedule. Sure, the Michigan game is great. They beat Michigan, really good basketball team at times. Obviously lost to Minnesota, but a good basketball team. But they lose to Baylor, they lose to Illinois, and they go to Miami and only win the game by 3 points. Looking at it now about how all these ACC schools are beating Miami with ease. We're talking about Southern Methodist. Hell, we think Stanford's going to do the job tonight. A 3-point victory at Miami is not all that impressive. Sure, it's a win on the road against an ACC school, and obviously at the time when Arkansas scheduled that game, they were going to expect it to be a big-time game for them to win, obviously. Looking back at it, it's not the biggest win no more. Now again, Arkansas 0-5 in the SEC. They go to Knoxville. They get blown out. Expected. Just ask Mississippi State. Now the Bulldogs stayed in that game. They actually got back into the game in the second half, but the Volunteers just pulled away. Lose to Ole Miss by 7 points. Lose to Florida by 8 points. They go to Baton Rouge and lose to LSU. That is the Tigers' only victory so far this year in SEC play. They go to Mizzou. They get blown out by 18 points. And again, Mizzou didn't take care of business at Texas. It is what it is. Guys, this team loses Boogie Fland. That's really big. Boogie Fland, I would say, is, I don't know if he's the best he's the best player on this team. Let's just be honest. I think he is. He's better than Adu Thiero, I think. Yeah, I'd definitely say. Yeah. Boogie's not their leading scorer, but he's their top guy. Obviously, the freshman Boogie Fland out for the season. He was just ruled out for the year today with a hand injury. He'll be back next year, one can assume, obviously. At Arkansas, I doubt he's going to, he's not going to the draft. But Boogie Fland was a big, he was big help for this Razorbacks team. This is a guy who averages 15 and 6, and now that's just gone. So now who does Arkansas have to rely on to score? I mean, DJ Wagner, we can only expect, takes a bigger load, but he's going to, only, oh God, I forgot about Arkansas's history. No, I'm joking. Obviously it's long in the past, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a whole story around Arkansas basketball. It's something. I don't know if it was true or not. I saw it on TikTok a while ago. I'm not gonna lie. Anyways, actually, that was just last year, wasn't it? Wasn't Trevion Brazil involved with that? Was he not? I could have sworn he was. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that. I don't know if that's real or not. I saw it on TikTok. Anyways, DJ Wagner is going to have to step up for this basketball team. Him and Janelle Davis, obviously. Wagner's a guy who's averaging 10 points a game right now. Janelle Davis, the senior at Gary, Indiana, is averaging 8. But I mean, these are the guys that are going to have to make up for Flan's absence now. And I don't think that Arkansas is able to really figure that out right now. I don't think they're going to be able to. Sure, they're at home, but I do think Georgia's the better basketball team. Guys, Georgia's still 14-4 this year. Arkansas is 11-7, and I get it. Again, non-conference schedules, it is what it is. But Georgia's bringing in this game. Asa Newell, obviously, who's averaging 15 points a game, 15-7. You get Dakota Lefu, who's averaging 12. You get Seamus Damari Jr. is averaging 12. Tyron Lawrence averaging 10. This is not a bad Georgia team. And I get it. They have not won the road this entire season other than their win over the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. I understand that. But I don't think Arkansas is really prepared to play this game. Again, without their best guy in Boogie Fland, their star freshman, he's not playing. How does Arkansas adjust? And in their first game, I get the games in Fayetteville. I understand that. But I do think the Bulldogs are able to, bite down and, it's a fighting saying, but they're able to bite down the mouthpiece, go forward, and win the basketball game. I think they're going to be able to. I don't think the game being in Arkansas makes too much of a difference. Currently, the line is -1.5 for the Arkansas Razorbacks. I think this game closes as Georgia as the favorites. I would just expect it to, as more people realize, Boogie Fland's out. Arkansas hasn't won a game so far this year in the SEC. I'd expect Georgia to close as favorites. I think so. Again, I'm recording this video, guys, and this is as I always do. I'm recording this video at... Oh, that's not that. Here we go. Come on. 3:15 in the morning. So, this video goes out in less than 5 hours. Hopefully, again, Georgia is still the underdogs at this point, but I would expect this line to close as Georgia favored to win. I don't know. We'll see how it moves. But now we like the Georgia Bulldogs to win the basketball game for now as plus money dogs and to cover obviously the 1.5 points that they're getting on the road as well. So give me Georgia here against the Arkansas Razorbacks. And folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on January 22nd. If you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to comment. If you do disagree with any of the picks, folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.